To be Black and to be in public these days, walk on a sidewalk, is often seen as a threat.
What are the politics of African American marching groups claiming public space in the United States, particularly in a moment of increasing militarization and surveillance?
I think this is a really important moment to kind of think about what is that history of the march? What is it around these drill teams, and why are these young African Americans dressed in these military costumes and throwing guns in the air?
Marching was a way of actually creating public articulations of identity and of solidarity in the face of discrimination and inequality and lack of opportunities.
I was invited to collaborate with Bryony by Storefront, by Ava Frank, who had seen Bryony's performance in Chicago. I thought, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, particularly in terms of relationships of Black bodies in public space.
We really wanted this project to emerge from the process of collaboration. So we didn't go in with a fixed idea of what the performance would be. We went in with the idea that we would have a series of workshops in which we would learn about the performers.
The Marching Cobras are a drumline and dance line. They're an amazing organization whose mission is really to bring youth together, to enlighten them about different forms of performance, dance, drumming.
We like to show off different types of dances, so majorette, ballet, modern, and we like to show off our flexibility, so like leg lifts, splits, and drops.
It takes them off the street, but in an odd way, it puts them back on the street, but with a different agenda. Part of what the Cobras actually do for the youth is this sense of polish, professionalism, but a kind of fearlessness and fierceness of being in public.
The things that I've been doing now is things that I would never have imagined even. Like, we just performed for Rihanna, so I got to meet her, and that was amazing.
So when it's time to work, we drum, we dance, we have fun. When it's chill time, everybody hangs out, everybody laughs, we're together.
Marcus Garvey Park had been, with the gentrification of Harlem, a site of contention.
It's been famous for having drum circles there since the 70s. And that was historically a really important moment, a kind of gathering moment in the week for people who lived in the neighborhood. But now that the properties around the park have been developed, the demographics of the neighborhood are changing rapidly. There have been a lot of noise complaints about sound in the park.
That seemed to fit in very well with some of the issues we wanted to explore with Marching On.
As architects or as designers, we're thinking about the organization of the performance in space. They start on the street, they go into the park, and then they end up back on the street. So that was very important, that it almost felt more kind of woven or stitched into the public life of the city.
We went over this and over this and over this, and we got it right. And it was like different because it was something like that we never do.
The idea of camouflage was really important for us also visually in the design of the costumes for the performance, in which the performers would sort of blend in with the landscape but then also pop out from it. The way that marching band formations themselves had acted like a kind of camouflage that enabled people to be in public space when otherwise that kind of mass gathering and presence would have been forbidden.
The all-white represents military style, how marching bands before used to perform and march through the streets. It kind of represents like peace. And then this side is like our colors. The now part of the marching bands, they represent us.
So it was like we transformed into the Cobras, who we usually are and stuff.
I really like how with the capes, the dancers wore one color and the drummers wore another color, but at the end we all came together in one color.
Using the prop is like, it gives you another way of expressing yourself.
The most remarkable moment was to watch the Cobras actually perform in the park. Not because it was part of Storefront or Performa, but because I think the Cobras themselves may have learned something about the history of their own medium of performance. They kind of recognized that and maybe even owned that legacy. For me, was a remarkable moment.